Good evening, thank you all for being here. My name is Alina Davenport and I'll be telling you guys about the importance of voting and why you should vote. It is our civic duty as United States citizens to get out and cast a ballot on election day or voting day. Not many people vote, which is sad because it's something that we all should do. You hear kids all the time talk about how they want to grow up and how they want to be an adult. And when we turn 18, we're allowed to vote. Thank you to the 26th Amendment. But not enough people exercise this right, and I think we all should. The past year, in 2018, almost 47% of the United States population turned out to vote in the presidential election. And this is the highest voter turnout that we've had since 1966, which is a little over 50 years. The 26th Amendment, as I said, gives 18-year-olds a right to vote, so get out there and voice your opinion. Think about yourself. Do you care who could be the mayor of your town, or what laws are affecting your community, and even who's running your country? Get out there and cast your vote. So I'm going to give you guys a little history about voting. Initially, white men were the only people who could vote, and you had to be over the age of 21. Until 1920, women finally gained the right to vote. This date may not shock you, but this is over 144 years of only white males being able to vote. Our great-grandmothers and possibly even our great-grandfathers, if they weren't white males, were not allowed to vote. 144 years is more than a lifetime. So think about going your whole life with having opinions and thoughts on politics that you're not able to do anything with. So this may not be a big deal to some people, but before women had the right, people were literally dying in order to get this right. For example, in 1913, Emily Wilding Davison threw herself in front of a horse and was killed in order to draw attention to the Women's Voting Act, the women's suffrage. So she was willing to die in order to get this right for other women. And it's not just women that didn't have the right to vote. If you were not white, then you did not have the right. Until the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And this act said that no matter what race you were, as long as you were a United States citizen, then you were able to vote. This act was proposed by John F. Kennedy, but due to so much controversy in the South, it wasn't signed into effect until Lyndon B. Johnson did. Now, since 1971, the voting age has lowered from 21 to 18, so us 18-year-olds can go out and voice our opinion. Imagine how frustrating it must have been to have an opinion and a stance on politics but not be able to do anything about it. So I ask you to please not take advantage of this just because it's something that you're used to. So Thomas Jefferson, I found a good quote that he said, "We do not have government by the majority, we have government by the majority that participate." And this cannot be any more true. Because as I said earlier, only 50% of the population voted, and that was the high since 1966. 30% of the population of millennials, which is ages 19 to 20, voted. This demographic has gone up since 2014, which used to only be 20% of millennials would vote. So we need to keep this statistic rising. A reason that people don't vote is because it takes too much time, or it's out of the way, or someone else will just do it and my vote doesn't matter. But I can assure you that your vote does matter. Too often nowadays people just assume that their one vote isn't going to make a change, but it will. So for example, I live in a small town of about 3,000 people, and just recently we had our school supplemental levy, which was needed to get funding for our school. So many people in the town thought that if the levy passed, then their taxes would be higher, so a lot of people didn't want it. But our school would be drastically affected by this if the levy didn't pass. The levy is given 2 chances, and a good thing that it does, because the first time so many people assumed that the levy would pass, since it so often has in the past. People just didn't vote. So of our population, not even 1,000 people turned out to vote in the first levy election, or levy vote. So because it failed, our school went into a panic, as did our community. If our school would not get funding, then one of the other schools in our district would be completely shut down. Almost half the teachers from the staff would be fired, and all of our extracurricular activities like band, art, every sport, and shop classes would be completely cut. And many of the students in the school said that if the levy didn't pass, then they were just going to move out of the town. So due to lots of media broadcasting throughout the town and a lot of awareness of what the situation was and what the consequences would be on the school and the community, the levy easily passed the second time. With a voter margin of 1,170 to 546, the levy passed easily. Another example is a neighboring town of us is Plummer. They had this same problem. Their levy didn't pass, and it didn't pass, and it didn't pass because the people didn't want to vote for it, until the roof of the school collapsed and the state had to come in and take control of the situation. But this happening, the state raised the taxes in Plummer, so it would have been better for Plummer to just go out and vote in the first place, and then their taxes wouldn't have been raised. So don't just assume, well, someone else will do it. And many members of my own family had this mindset. They just assumed, well, I've had a long day at work, so I don't want to go do it. Someone else will just vote for it. But I just encourage you to make your voice yours. So it is our civic duty to vote, and it's not something that we've always had, so just take advantage of, or don't take advantage of how important it is to vote and voice your opinion. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions?
Plenty.